week, new details emerged about the suspect in the recent New York and New Jersey bombings and his potential inspiration by ISIS and radical Islam. As authorities continue to piece together his background, Homeland Security experts everywhere reminding people to be vigilant. If you see anything, say something. See something, say something. My guest this morning to discuss what New Hampshire is doing, though, is State Homeland Security Director Perry Plummer. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
And we're having this on a weekend where there's a lot of people in the state, and that continues to be the message. I mean, you can't hammer that enough. See something, say something.
Absolutely. This is a challenging weekend for us because we have the NASCAR race. There's a number of other events around the state, but we've been preparing and planning for a long time for this with all our partners, so I think we're ready.
Yeah, 100,000 people in the state. It's worth asking, though, because we do it every time something happens nationally, or, you know, like in New York and New Jersey, we ask, all right, how's New Hampshire responding? What do you do when we see things happen in other parts of the country?
Yeah, so we, obviously we monitor what's going on nationally, internationally. When something happens nationally or internationally, we immediately get together and say, how does that affect New Hampshire? Is there a direct nexus to New Hampshire? You know, do they have relatives in New Hampshire? Do they come to New Hampshire? Are they from New Hampshire? Do they buy stuff in New Hampshire? And when those answers are no, not yet, we haven't, because early in an investigation, we start saying, okay, so what's the likelihood of that happening in New Hampshire? Do we have events like that? So we had a bombing at a road race. Yes, we have road races. So what do we have to do to protect our public from that? And so we look at all those things and say, what can we do to increase the safety of our residents based on these things? We look at whether is there a connection that would happen in New Hampshire, or what about a copycat? So we're always concerned about those things, and we put into place activities that will increase that preparedness and protection during those period of time.
Yeah, obviously we're fortunate enough to live in a state that hasn't seen anything major in terms of terrorist activity, but post 9/11, a lot of the critique was there wasn't enough sharing of information. People weren't talking, and maybe the hijackers could have been stopped. Who knows? But looking forward, are you confident that the communication and the lines of communication are open and are there?
I'm extremely confident that for New Hampshire, the lines of communication are open. We have a tremendous relationship with DHS, FBI, Department of Public Health, state police, local police, and we have a information analysis center that takes a lot of that information and analyzes it and pushes it out to local law enforcement and local first responders, so they have the most up-to-date information. We recently had a conference call with the governor, and we had 100 police departments on the phone just to talk about what was going on nationally and to make sure, do they have everything they need? Is there anything more we can do, and do they have the most up-to-date information? So for New Hampshire, I really believe that we have tremendous relationships, and it's all about relationships between all those parts. Sure. We're all in this together, whether it be federal agencies, state agencies, local agencies, and quite frankly the public, because the public's awareness and public's vigilance is our first line of defense. That's the first line of defense for prevention.
And when we say the line, see something, say something, I mean, you might have to process it a little bit, because, I mean, it's unlikely you're going to see somebody walk up with a suitcase and run away and drop it. It could be something seemingly benign, whether it's, I mean, I hesitate to give an example, but just, think it through, and if you have some questions, call someone.
That is a challenge. Obviously, we're looking for suspicious activity. But really, the best way to look at that is, if it makes you go, that doesn't seem right, tell somebody, whether it be an unattended package, whether it be someone taking pictures and spending an inordinate amount of time around critical infrastructure or your building, or it may be at your place of business and someone's coming in and buying large quantities of something, or buying something strange that doesn't make sense. Just let somebody know. There's a joint terrorism task force in this state that's made up of state, federal, and local agencies. They follow up on all those leads, and a lot of them are harmless activities, but some are not. And so really, just say something. If you see it, say it. Don't wait. The whole adage is, I don't want to get involved, or someone else will probably report that. That's got to go away for us. We need to make that call. Yeah,
it's worth the phone call. Meantime, there's a lot of preparation still in place. You talk about the mall training and things along those lines, because malls, obviously, as we've seen, unfortunately, are targeted.
Yeah, and obviously, I'm really confident that our malls are as safe as can be. We recently just had a large-scale tabletop exercise with most of our large malls in the room, and our largest mall owner with a corporate table, and we spent a whole day with 100 people just going through exercises and training and for prevention, preparedness, and then response. And so a lot of preparation goes into these large events that the public doesn't see. Obviously there's the high profile law enforcement activities that are important. But there's a lot of stuff that goes on that isn't high profile, that's undercover, or preparation prior to, so to ensure the safety of our venues, whether it be malls, whether it be fairs, whether it be road races. There's a lot of activity going on to keep our citizens safe.
I would imagine so. As far as staffing goes and the manpower, do you have what you need? I mean, obviously, people can look at different kinds of targets where people talk about the grid, the power grid, the nuclear power plants, the road races, things along those lines.
Well, I don't think that law enforcement has the resources they need. I think it's a matter of finances. So as far as local law enforcement, they are juggling a lot of balls. There's no question about it. At the state level, state police, they're strapped for resources too. But we're all joined together and be a force multiplier. We're all in this together. We can leverage each other's assets, and that's really what's working well for us. Sure. With that being said, it's challenging times. It's challenging times for law enforcement, it's challenging times for event planners, and it's challenging time for anybody that's having a large event.
And I imagine that information that is gathered from a local law enforcement agency or the Department of Homeland Security could be effective and applied in other areas, even if it's the opioid crisis or the heroin.
Yeah, we deal with a lot of different things. We deal with a lot of different sectors when it comes to critical infrastructure. We're Homeland Security and Emergency Management, so there's a lot of crossing of those lines. But certainly they're stretched thin because even though they can use a lot of the same training and all hazards approach, they have limited resources.
Yeah, and moving forward, that's always going to be a problem, unfortunately. But once again, it brings us right back to the public and their role in this kind of thing. All right, we have 100,000 people in the state this weekend, which is a great thing.
It's a fantastic
Nothing
thing
to complain about, but you guys are certainly busy, and you're going to be moving forward in the foliage season.
Yeah, the state's Emergency Operations Center will be open this weekend to support the race. With that being said, we've had many planning meetings. There's been training out there. There's been exercises. So we really think that not only is the track personnel ready, that our state, local, and federal agencies are ready as well to host these individuals.
Yeah, and I don't want to say that your singular job is Homeland Security and protect us against terrorism. That's obviously an important component, but you open that office up if we have a major ice storm or any of these kinds of things, and there's a lot of work to be done. Anything as far as the drought that's bringing you into the conversation?
So just as a point of reference on that, we practice all hazards planning. So when we plan for an active shooter or plan for a terrorist attack, we're also using the same plans for hurricanes, tornadoes, any type of disaster. So that's a good bang for the buck because you can use those plans for a lot of different things. With that being said, the drought's a problem. I know that we had a conference call just recently. We had a lot of our communities on the call, and DES, our Department of Environmental Service, is recommending water bans. The problem is that there's not enough water on the ground. I think Manchester's down maybe 16 inches from the rainfall from what they normally are, and that's consistent throughout the state. That's not going to be recharged in one storm. Yeah. And going into winter, we're really concerned that we're going to have wells failing in winter. So really, if people could curtail the non-essential use of water, it would really help the situation.
Yeah, but bottom line also, it comes to what we see down in New York and New Jersey. We've been fortunate, but it can happen anywhere.
It certainly can. And hopefully, if we can prevent it, if we can't prevent it, hopefully we're prepared and our response will be efficient and effective.
I appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for keeping us updated.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Good to see you, sir.